Hello, welcome to Mr. Beals Story Time. Today we're going to do the 1870s. I'm going to read a couple of short episodes from It Happened in Nevada by Elizabeth Gibson. And so these are shorter than the other one. I was the first couple of ones I did from the historical Nevada, and we'll come back to that. Those are kind of longer stories. Today I thought I'd do some short ones from It Happened in Nevada by Elizabeth Gibson. This story is from 1870. Train robbed twice in the same day. Trains chugged along the Transcontinental Railroad for a year and a half before a single robbery occurred. The tiny town of Verdi, Nevada, would go down in history as the site of the first train robbery in the far west. Even more incredible, the same train, the Central Pacific Railroad's Express Train Number 1, was robbed twice on the same day. A.J. Jack Davis planned to rob the Central Pacific train on its regular run from San Francisco to Ogden, Utah. To assist him, he hired 6 other nefarious characters, including John Squires, an experienced stage robber, and Ed Parsons, a Virginia City gambler. Rounding out the group were Tilton Cockrell, R.A. Soul Jones, Henry Gilchrist, and John Chapman. Davis sent Chapman to San Francisco to learn the schedule of the trains leaving for Nevada. Chapman learned that the next train would leave Oakland for the Sierras in the early morning of November 4th, 1870. Chapman telegraphed Jones, informing him of the schedule. It was perfect timing, since that train carried $20 gold pieces for the Yellow Jacket Mine payroll, as well as banknotes and silver dollars. Jones got the message to Davis, who was hiding out in an abandoned mine tunnel in the Peavine Mountains northwest of Reno. From this vantage point, he could see the Central Pacific tracks. 2 hours before the scheduled arrival of the train, Davis and his men left the cave and rode to an old stone quarry 6 or 7 miles from Verdi. Jones stayed with the horses on the quarry while the others rode into town. The men planned to board the train near the depot and ride it to the quarry. But the train was late. It had been delayed near Cisco, California by a westbound freight train that had jumped the tracks. When the train finally arrived, Davis and the others, armed with 6-shooters and shotguns, jumped on the train. Then the robbers ordered the passengers to lie down on the floor of one of the passenger cars. One of the robbers uncoupled the engine and express car from the rest of the train, letting the passenger cars fall behind. Davis ordered the engineer, Henry S. Small, to drive the train a short distance down the track, where Jones waited with the horses. Davis led Small at gunpoint on the express car. He forced Small to yell out to the guard Frank Mitchell to open up the express car door. The robbers broke into the treasure boxes with crowbars and loaded about $41,600 in gold coins and $8,800 in silver bars into the sacks. They split the money into 2 sacks, each weighing about 75 pounds. They temporarily stashed the money near the robbery site. After the robbers rode away, the engineer continued on his route. 20 hours later, the train was robbed again. The train stopped near Pequot, Nevada, to replenish its water supply. Fortunately, Marshall, the Wells Fargo agent on board, heard the bandits coming and hid most of the money taken on at Alco. When he opened the safe for the thieves, it contained about $3,100, a small percentage of the total that remained hidden. The thieves took it. Neither set of crooks got away with their crimes for very long. Just after the first robbery, the railroad cars that had been uncoupled from the train coasted down an incline as they bumped into the engine. The crew coupled the train back together and steamed to Reno to alert the sheriff. Wells Fargo and Central Pacific Railroad officials immediately posted rewards of $40,000 for the crooks. Law offices from all over California and Nevada rode to Virginia City to aid in the search. Washoe County Sheriff Charlie Pegg and Under Sheriff James H. Kincaid organized a posse to pursue the robbers. Wells Fargo detectives from San Francisco, including F.T. Burke, joined the hunt. The night of the robberies, John Squires, Ed Parsons, and James Gilchrist checked into the Pearson's Hotel in Sardine Valley, California. Mrs. Pierce noticed their suspicious behavior and their $20 gold pieces. She summoned the local sheriff, who organized a posse that quickly captured Gilchrist. From information given by Gilchrist, Under Sheriff Kincaid captured Parsons and Squires. Meanwhile, Wells Fargo detective Burke observed Jones spending a large amount of gold around Reno. After Burke pressured him, Jones admitted he was involved in the robbery. He told Burke about the plot and gave him the names of the others. His information led to the capture of Cockrell in a saloon near Reno. Burke tracked down Chapman at the Reno depot when he got off the train from San Francisco. Davis was picked up in Virginia City. Since all the men were still carrying some of the gold they had stolen, and they confessed to the location of the rest, nearly all the money was recovered. Gilchrist led some officers to a spot near Truckee River where they'd stashed some of the money. The men were quickly tried in a packed Washoe County courtroom. Townspeople were amazed that Davis was involved, since he was a respected Virginia City businessman. Few of the townspeople knew of his criminal past. On Christmas Eve, 4 of the men were sentenced from 18 to 22 years in the state prison. Squires was sentenced to 20 years in prison because of his prior robberies. Parsons was also sentenced to 20 years in prison because of his past gambling activities. Cockrell, also a known road agent, received 22 years hard labor for his role in the robbery. Chapman, a one-time Sunday school superintendent, received 18 years. Jones received a sentence of only 5 years because he cooperated with the law. Gilchrist went free for testifying against the others. In September of 1871, Cockrell, Chapman, Parsons, and Squire led a violent prison break. Eventually they were all recaptured. Parsons was pardoned in November of 1881. At the trial, Davis claimed that he had been forced to become a train robber because Wells Fargo had taken such means to protect its stages. This forced him into a new line of work. He must have won some sympathy with the jury because he only got 10 years prison time. The governor reduced the sentence to 3 years and set him free after 2. He may have received his freedom as early as a result of helping some of the guards from being killed in an 1871 prison riot. Unfortunately, Davis did not learn his lesson. He immediately planned a stage robbery. His life of crime ended on September 3, 1875, when he was killed by a Wells Fargo agent named Eugene Blair while attempting to rob the Eureka Taibo stage at Willow Station. Catching the men who robbed the train at Pequot took a little longer. Wells Fargo offered a reward of $5,000 for the rest of these men who had robbed them the second time. The only clues were a glove with the name of Edward Carr and a compass with the name of William Harvey found on the floor of the railroad car. These were the names of 2 of the 6 men who were known to have deserted from Fort Halleck a few weeks earlier. However, it turned out that the bandits had somehow taken possession of the belongings of the deserters, but that the deserters themselves were not involved in the robbery. By the end of the month, 3 men were arrested for the crime: Daniel Taylor, Daniel Baker, and Leander Morton. There was supposedly a 4th man involved who was never found. The men were convicted on January 17, 1871. They were sentenced to 30 years in the state prison. Wells Fargo recovered all the money stolen in the latest robbery. Thank you for joining, and we'll have more stories later.